Okay, what is God's job description? Number one, he's responsible for justice. So you are not responsible for justice. You let go and you let him handle it. Number two, he is responsible for revenge. Number three, he is responsible for retaliation. Number four, he is responsible for recompense, which means anything done against you that's evil or wicked, he will repay that person the way that he feels they should be repaid. So it's not your problem or your job to seek recompense against others and righting the wrongs against you. That's God's job. Number five, he is responsible for judgment. God is the only one able to judge others. We don't have enough information to judge justly, but God does. So that's his job description. Number six, God fights our battles by his power. So we really have to let go of the fact that we think we're winning because we're human and we have intellect. We fight our battles and win our battles because we use his power to do that. Number seven, he fights the enemies of our spiritual realm for us. So the spiritual reality is all around us, and we can't fight it with our human intellect or human soul, but God fights our enemies. So that's his job description. Let him fight our spiritual enemies. It's not up to us to fight because we are not equipped. Number eight, he is the armor of God. And one thing I realize about the armor of God, you have to realize it's an actual physical garment, a helmet, a belt, a breastplate. Number eight, he is the armor of God. So we assume the armor of God. He is the helmet of salvation, job description. He is the breastplate of righteousness, job description. Remember, Jesus is at the right hand of the Father at the throne of the Most High Heaven. He is the belt of truth, job description. He is feet that are shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. So that means that everywhere that he goes, he represents peace. That's job description. He is the shield of faith. Job description. It protects us. He is the sword of the Spirit. Job description. But this is a defensive part of this armor. He is the cloak of zeal. He is the garments of vengeance. He is the comforter. He is the spirit that restores us to sanity. Job description. He is the healer that heals all of our infirmities that are physical. 12, he is the healer that heals all of our spiritual overlays with sins and demons and what we're contaminated against. And if we're in an unevenly yoked relationship, he's a healer of that. Number 13, he is the healer that heals the thoughts in our mind. So our thoughts can be in alignment with not him, in alignment with the second heaven, with the demons. And his job description is that he is the healer of those thoughts. 14, he is the healer that heals our soul. Now this is interesting to think about because you've got the mind. He is the healer of our soul. And that's interesting because it's not our mind. It's not our intellect. It's not our heart. It's our soul, which is something completely different. I don't quite understand it 100%. I do know that the soul looks like a clock. It's compartmentalized into 12 pieces, exactly like a clock, circular. So I know in the occult, when they use a circle, it's to represent the human soul, and it also represents the constellations in the universe. Okay, 15. He is the healer that heals our spirit. So what I understand about the spirit is that God is spirit and the angels are spirit. So we as humans are souls, but God is a spirit. So his job description is that he is the healer that heals our spirits. And it's different than the soul, and it's different than the mind. And it's different than healing the body. Okay, So he is our protector. He physically protects us and spiritually protects us. He protects our souls and our spirit. He protects our minds, the way we think. He protects our intellect. And then he protects our bodies. He protects our brains, our physical heart. And then he protects the soul and the spirit and all that together. Number 16. Oh, I had to add some extra. I ran out of room. Okay. 16 and a half. He is abundance and inheritance of wealth. So God's job description is that he represents abundance. And so when you're in abundance and in wealth, you don't run around with a feeling of scarcity and deprivation and like a little 3-year-old that takes away a toy because he doesn't have another toy. So God represents abundance. So it's just like a little, like I said, a 3-year-old who's fighting over a toy. Like, this is mine, 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 mine. Well, God is abundance. So the job description of God is he represents abundance. So his children don't have to fight over toys because there's abundance of toys. There isn't a scarcity. Okay, 16.7. God's job description, he is life. So the very reason that we exist is because he is life. He gives life. He is reproduction. He is children. He is life. That's what he is. All right, 16.8. He is patient, which I think also is long-suffering. 17. He is our financial provider. Sometimes we forget that he is our financial provider. Without him, we couldn't take care of ourselves. Okay, number 18. He is our food provider. Every food that we eat, he has provided. Without his provisions, we would have no food, no fruit, no meat, nothing. Spices, he is the provider. So again, job description, he is the food provider, or let's call him the food supplier. And he's also the financial supplier. Although I do have a little hard time with the financial part of this, because the world we live in is controlled so much by the Satanist and their financial system. I don't know. I'll get back to that later. 19. He is our water provider. Without water, we wouldn't live. He is a water supplier. That's his job description. Number 20. He is our oxygen and air provider. 21. And carbon monoxide for plants. Number 20. He is our heavenly rain provider. And I have noticed that when the waters come down from the heavens, my plants love the water from the rain, from the clouds in the atmosphere. But when I water my plants with tap water, they don't like it. So again, job description, he is a heavenly rain provider. And I mean the heavenly rain coming from the heavens is magnificent compared to tap water rain. It's not the same. Okay, he is the musical orchestra conductor. So he is controlling the orchestra of the musicians. 24, he is the complete puzzle. Number 25, he is the way, the truth, and again, the life. 26, he is peace, serenity, and tranquility. He is responsible for pleasant smells of flowers or any smells that smell really good. That's who he is. That's his job description. He creates the smell of flowers and, the beauty of flowers. All right, 28. He is pleasant for sounds like birds, water running, sounds that sound relaxing. Again, job description. 29, 30. He is the light. The sun sets, the sun rises, and without the light, the plants wouldn't exist. And if the plants didn't exist, oxygen wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't exist. All right, 31, he is power. 32, he is control of everything as a sovereign of the universe. But the interesting thing about him having control as a sovereign, God also is his job description is that he is self-will and freedom. So he's the controller as a sovereign, but he's also the author and the job description of freedom and free will. And I just think it's interesting to think about that. Okay. 33, he is victorious in all of his battles. Job description. He doesn't fail. 34, he is successful. 35, he is love. 36, he is marriage with two people that are yoked with him and each other through one flesh. Job description. 37, he is mathematical. And really he is. And I'm starting to understand how, well, anyway, the satanic sigils are mathematical equations, and those are the fallen angels. So if that's how they manifest, so if the fallen angels manifest through sigils that are equations, that means that the God's angels also manifest, except that we're not supposed to go directly to the angels. We're supposed to go directly, again, job description. We're supposed to go directly to God through Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And then God gives the orders to his angelic army that didn't rebel and are still in the third heaven, the first heaven with him. But we're not supposed to go directly to the angels. That's what the occultists, that's what the Satanists do. They go to the fallen angels. Okay, 38. He is equations and formulas. God is math. He is sacred geometry. He's a triangle. He's a pyramid. He's an octagon. All right, 39. He is blood. God is blood. Our human blood is in fact God. So God is in our blood when we are made in God's image. So, and I believe that in our blood is geometry. If you go down to a cellular level of a blood, you can see it's a circle with a bunch of other shapes and also hexagons, which I think is really interesting. All right. 40, he is wisdom and understanding. And where are my other notes for? Oh, God is the master of our lives' tapestry. So our lives each have a path and have a divine order. And his job description is that he's the master of the way our life turns out, but he just gives us free will at the same time. Which, I mean, God really does let go, which I think as a human, for me, it's hard sometimes to let go and let God, but God lets go and lets human. I think that's funny. Instead of let go and let God, like we're supposed to say, God says let go and let human. He gives us free will so that we'll follow his instructions, not because we have to, because he's controlling us, but because we want to out of love and because we have free will. So God is also a human resource manager of divine relationships in your life. So there are certain people in your life that God puts there because he's the human resource manager. All right, God is the accountant of repentance. God is the department of accountability. God is free will. God is freedom. So this is my list of the job description of what God does. And if you understand what God's job description is, then you can let God be God, and you don't have to be God because you know what God's job is. And a lot of the things that we want to control, we want to do, like we don't want to trust God. We just don't, because we're human. And but if we understand that he is the controller of our tapestry of our lives, he is the one that controls our destinies, but we need to be on his path. If we understand what the job description of God is and let God do his thing and trust him every step of the way. What's really uncomfortable about this is that what I find is that I kind of want to know how it's all going to unfold. I want to know the plan. I want to know how and when and then why. As I start to understand God and Jesus more and more, and I start to understand who and what they are, it's easier for me to set boundaries with myself and know what is my job and what is God's job. And, my job is to align with the mind of Christ and to be like Christ. But also, it's one thing to be like Christ, but it's another thing to start doing God's job for him, which I'm really good at. I mean, all of these things I like to, would like to do myself and, and run my own life. And it doesn't work really well. And that's why I'm not God. And so if I understand who God is and what his job description is, and then how I play into the puzzle with the job description, I start to make wiser choices. But patience isn't my best attribute. It's difficult for me to be patient. But if you trust God and that he wants what's best for you, you'll do it his way. And I just think that it's not the quickest way, and it's not the easiest way. And I think as humans, we want quick and easy and absolute least resistance. We want what we want when we want it, when we want it, how we want it. And it's the way that we see it, not the way that God sees it. So if we let go and let God and trust that God knows us, and he knows others that are also love him, and he'll unite you to people that have your best interest at heart, truly, because of their relationship with him.